The Oblivion remake is soon upon us, George, if rumors are to be believed. I actually played Oblivion back in the day, and I played Skyrim back when it came out as well. I didn't play the one before Oblivion, which is Morrowind, but I had a pretty good time with Oblivion, actually. I played it quite a bit. Very interesting game. Lots of, it's really role-play-y of a role-playing game. Like, you really get into, like, the role-playing aspect of it. The story's really heavy. I'm not a huge story guy, but it was interesting enough. The one thing that I didn't like about it, though, was, and the same problem that I have with Skyrim, and it's gotten worse over time, is the gameplay. The gameplay is just really shallow. It's, like, fine, but it's not amazing.
I think I'm one of the few people on the internet seeing all this hype about the Oblivion remake or remaster or whatever. I think I'm one of the few people that's never played any Elder Scrolls games. I haven't played Skyrim.
None of them?
Never. Yep. I've wanted to get Skyrim, but it's like one of those situations between like game A, game B. You only have so much money. Game B is newer. Right. Let's play that one.
True.
And so, yeah, at the time, I just didn't get around to Skyrim, never played Oblivion. So, yeah, it feels like, especially now, seeing like all the stuff online about it, that everybody's played it, but not me. And so, maybe this is the time to finally pick it up now that there's going to be an Oblivion remake.
Skyrim really is one of those games that like literally everybody has played at some point. It's like dirt cheap now. It certainly feels
that way. Yes.
You can, it's super accessible. It's like quintessential, the modded to fucking Oblivion game. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So the thing that I think that these games have failed upon is, I mean, they're a little janky and the story can be, a little silly at times. But I think overall they're beloved games, and they're quite good, I would say. I definitely think the gameplay is the biggest stickler for me. The new, if leaks are to be believed, the new remake is going to shadow drop soon. There are also a bunch of changes that they're making. One thing that really gets me excited is it says blocking is meant to be Souls-like inspired. And I mean, I'm a Souls fan, total whore, so I'm absolutely excited about that. But
sure, what does that mean though?
Yeah, right, exactly. What does that exactly mean? Like Souls-like inspired? Is there a Souls way to block something? Like, I'm sorry, what? Yeah,
I don't know.
Very strange.
How's the stamina work in these games? Because the only thing I can think of is like blocking is your stamina gets depleted, and if you block too much, you get poise broken because you ran out of stamina. Is there stamina in the same way in these games?
Yeah, it's kind of like, if we look at the stamina in a Souls game as like a really micro thing, it's like a small stamina meter that like depletes quickly and fills quickly. In a game like the Elder Scrolls, you have a stamina bar that's like a macro long haul stamina bar where it depletes slowly and repletes slowly. So the stamina breaking kind of thing doesn't totally work the same. I believe there is some kind of break thing, but it's not as prevalent as in like a constant thing that happens in like Souls games. So It's a little bit different. It's kind of a strange thing. Like you need stamina to run and stuff, but maybe they'll change that in this because there's been a lot of games, especially open world games, that have done the whole, hey, if you're not in combat and you're running, you don't have to use any stamina. So I really hope that that's a change that they're going to make.
Is that how it was before? Running and exploration cost stamina?
Yeah, so here's the weird thing about the Elder Scrolls games that a lot of other games don't really have is there's a skill for like everything. Like jumping is a skill you level up by jumping. Running is an athletic skill that you level up by running. And then there's like classifications of magic. There's like, 5 to 10-ish classifications of magic. There's like buff magic, debuff magic, illusionary magic, destruction magic, this magic, like all sorts of summoning magic, whatever, right? There's a bunch of different things. There's different weapon types like daggers and swords and maces and all that stuff, right? So there's like, it's got a lot of depth to it and it's got a lot of intrigue to it from all the way from top to bottom, except for like directly the combat itself. The combat is like the most simplistic part, which is so odd. But you know what game did combat in first-person melee type stuff amazingly? Like way freaking better than Skyrim and Oblivion ever could dream of is Avowed.
Oh, interesting. I just heard people didn't like the game and then didn't look twice.
Yeah, so the story in Avowed is like really not that interesting. There's some moments, I've played a decent chunk of it, and there's some moments where I was actually pretty intrigued. There was a side quest that was actually really cool and I was super invested in. But the thing that like absolutely sucked me into Avowed was the gameplay. The gameplay is like, and I don't think this is hyperbole, but I'm going to say it and let me explain myself. I think the gameplay in Avowed is the Dark Souls of first-person melee combat type games. I don't think that
it's quite
Avowed
a statement coming from you, especially Mr. Dark Souls lover over here.
Sure. And don't get me wrong, I don't think Avowed is like the Dark Souls of its genre, because I think Avowed is a deeply flawed game. However, specifically the combat is such a revelation that like if a game that's a first person, even like I said melee, but like even if it's first person magic, like everything that they do combat in Avowed is like 10 out of 10. Genre defining. If a game that is first person like this with like magic and melee and stuff like that isn't doing at least what Avowed does going forward, honestly, I'm just not fucking interested. Like there's just no way. It's so good.
So what is it that Avowed does then? Because I know a bunch of people bounced off that game, but if the gameplay's so good, I'm really curious as to what you found so appealing in the combat.
Yeah, I think the reason I didn't bounce off it is because I'm such a gameplay whore, like just straight up. I will play almost any game, no matter if all the other parts of it is terrible, as long as the gameplay is really good. So for me, it's just like there's a lot of things. Like the blocking felt really good, the parrying felt really good. They got the timing window just right on parrying, where it's not too easy, but it's not too hard either. The charge attacks feel really meaty, and there's like dodging as well. Like you can actually dodge things. So like imagine one of the things that makes a Souls game really good is dodging, right? Dodging attacks and, you know, handling your stamina. They have that in Avowed. There's like a stamina meter where you actually do like dodges and stuff, and there's the parries. Charging attacks feel worth it, where in a lot of these games, in Oblivion and Skyrim, charging attacks didn't feel really worth it a lot of the time. Now, everyone plays a little bit differently. Some people may disagree with that. That's fine. But I really feel like in Avowed, there were moments where I knew like, here's when I use charge attacks, here's when I just do normal swings, and then the hit detection felt really good. Like your weapon would stop when it hit an enemy, and the little tiny bit of screen shake and just the right kind of sound. And oh man, it felt so good. It felt so good. I've never played a first-person melee-ish, fantasy-ish kind of game that was like Avowed. And honestly, I'm excited for the Oblivion remake, but it really just needs to do what Avowed is doing. And if it's not, I'm just not going to be as into it, to be honest. It's just, if the gameplay is as shallow as the previous games have been, I don't know. I don't know if I can get excited.
So I have two questions then for you. A, sounds like it was like more haptic feedback, for lack of a better term, that you thought Avowed did really well.
Yep.
Is that
in
it?
Skyrim, it's like your weapon is like a paintbrush across the screen. Like it's very little feedback. Like you see the enemies react and stuff. I'm not gonna say it's the worst, but it's like the most, this is fine, this is serviceable type of feedback and feeling that you could get.
Okay, so I guess that answers slightly the second question that I was going to ask, which is kind of a two-parter, which is, A, do we know if this is confirmed to be a remake or a remaster? Because remaster usually means more overhauling than a remake does. And then B, would changing Oblivion's combat to be more like Avowed's combat, would that like change what the game is like too much, to the point where it's just like, this is just now a different game with, you know, a better skin, with the Oblivion skin on it, with better graphics? Or is there a way to still stay true to the original while also updating things to feel better, I guess, and like to feel more like Avowed? It sounds like if haptic feedback is what it's needing, then I could see, you could make a remaster and just make everything more modern. Boom, you can merge the two flawlessly. But yeah, does that question make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So I'm not 100% sure. From what I understand, it may just be a straight-on remake, but it could be a remaster. Regardless, the bulk of your question is like, would it be the same if the combat was overhauled? And I think the answer to that is absolutely. I think, in fact, it would be a better game if the combat was overhauled. Now, of course, there'd be a lot of balancing they need to do to make sure everything still works generally the same. But, like, these games are so deep. There's so much to them. It's not just, like, the combat. There's the story and the skills and the interactions and the side quests and the exploration and the magical items and all that stuff. Like, it's a full game. It's a full experience. So I think overhauling the combat in a big way would only make the entire experience better, and I don't think it would take away from the core essence, unless it's like your opinion is having mediocre combat is the Elder Scrolls experience, but I don't think that's the case. I think these games are really good, and they could become excellent 10 out of 10 type of experiences if they just had really, really solid combat. Now, you may say, and a lot of people will probably say this, well, just get mods. Fix it with mods. Well, first of all, I don't think just saying get mods is an appropriate response to any game criticism. Now, that's not to say that you can't use mods, and I do use lots of mods for different games potentially that do fix things, but I think if we're just looking at the series as a whole, we can't really bring mods into what the game as a baseline is. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so there's also no mod that I've ever used, and I've used several mods for Skyrim that made the combat to a point where I thought was acceptable, or even like Avowed, right? Like Avowed is just like, I don't know if you could do what they're doing with a mod. You would need to really rehaul the entire combat system and the balancing with the enemies and stuff. Even like the combat flow is quite different feeling. So yeah, I think, sure, there'll be things that we could fix with mods and stuff like that. That's fine. But I really think from the ground up, there needs to be a reimagining of how the combat goes about. And I recommend anyone check out Avowed if you're very curious about that and you were skeptical about, because I was skeptical before I played Avowed of like, is the combat really going to be good? Like, it looks fine, but you never know. No, it really is that good. It's very impressive.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah. I just knew people didn't like Avowed, and I didn't look into it beyond that. So it's very interesting to hear that from you. Huh,
yeah,
okay.
Enough.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of interested. This is something I haven't like purposely avoided anything about Oblivion, the remake or anything like that. But it's just like one of those things like I never played the original, so I don't know whether to be hyped or not. I have no like connection to it. So yeah, interesting.
Sure. Well, maybe we'll have to get a video out soon where you play it and give your impressions as a first-time Elder Scrolls. I mean, that's pretty rare in the gaming landscape, especially within content creators, right? People have not played a single Elder Scrolls game. That's crazy.
It does feel like it's one of those staples that you have to just play to understand better kind of the evolution of video games.
Sure.
But I don't know. It just, there's so many games out there, and we could do a whole video about just like how many games there are to play. But it's always a choice, and my time is limited, and I always just chose against Skyrim, so it is what it is.
It sounds like your time may be coming, and Oblivion might be their entry point.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what you end up thinking of it. If you like it and think it's good, I probably will pick up Oblivion.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we might have a video coming out soon for that, but we'll see.
Sure.
See.
All right. Well, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, guys, so you can be in the know if that video ever does come out. But with that, we'll catch you guys next time.
See you, everybody.